In this town, there's no offseason. The news never stops, and neither do we. It's always game day in Cleveland with Andy Baskin and Daryl Ryder.
Well, I hope everyone's having a good holiday season, and thanks for coming on into this special Christmas edition. Is it? I don't know. It's a holiday edition. It's always game day in Cleveland, a Hanukkah edition, whatever you want it to be, a Kwanzaa edition as we get set for the holidays later. And I'll ask Daryl about all of his shopping habits here because they're more exciting than the Browns. It is always game day in Cleveland. And, of course, we are brought to you by Smiley One in Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, I know this argument about where Browns fans are with the team right now. The word is apathy. I just don't see any other word around it. It is apathy, Daryl.
Yeah, you can start to feel it, which is unusual because
now it's really weird.
Because, we're used to people being really engaged when things kind of go south, and it doesn't feel like fans are as engaged this time around. And that's actually something that I think the Browns need to worry about, because when you're as consistently bad of a franchise as they've been since 1999, this is, Pittsburgh was lost number 10. Right. 18 times in 25 years, you've lost 10 or more games in a season. And then on top of that, you've had 21 losing seasons out of 20. So in a quarter of a century, you've had 4 good years. That's it. And
I have a theory on this apathy too, by the way.
Okay. And I am impressed that Browns fans have been as loyal as they have been. But I think what's going to happen here in Cleveland is you're going to see, because the Cavs have been, for the most part, winners with the LeBron James era, both of those eras, and they won a championship in the second one, and a perennial playoff team. This new iteration of the Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell and the core four has people excited. The Guardians, and I know a lot of fans don't get real excited about what they do in the offseason, but during the season, they're pretty fun to watch. They field a competitive product pretty much on a regular basis. And I've always been amazed that, in this market, the Cavs and Guardians just aren't even on the same level as far as loyalty, love, conversation, etc., as the Browns have always been. And my prediction is that if the Browns don't get their house in order here real soon, they're going to start losing the core fan. And that core fan is going to lean toward the Cavs and lean toward the Guardians, because they're just going to be over the fact that the Browns lose every year.
So it kind of hit me today why the apathy is there right now. Because, look, if this was a 2-10 season or 3-10 season 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I think fans were still locked in because they were thinking about the draft, right? They were already like, okay, turn the page. We'll start watching college football and we'll get ready for the draft. We'll get ready for the draft. I think Browns fans are so deprogrammed to not care about the draft right now because we haven't had a first-round pick in years.
Yeah.
And I think it's just another shockwave from a really bad decision to bring Deshaun Watson in. And I truly believe that fans would be engaged in who are we going to draft and should we draft. Like, I don't even think fans are buying into the fact that the Browns would draft a quarterback in the first round anyway, because they still owe Deshaun so much money. And they know he's probably going to be on the roster. And they feel like that everything is kind of tied to Deshaun. And, I mean, you want to talk about it's not only the worst trade in NFL history is what it's going to go down as. It had the biggest impact on this organization only to moving and rebirth.
Yeah. And, the post that Deshaun, who lacks self-awareness, put on his Instagram, him having dinner with his fiance, having pasta and wine. Like,
who is that for? Like, who wants to see Deshaun doing that, Daryl? Who wants to see it?
I don't know. Again, he lacks self-awareness, but I don't even there was a vocal minority of fans, that were upset about that. And I'm like, who cares? He can't play right now. He's hurt. He's not done anything positive for the Cleveland Browns really since getting here. So I got to be honest with you, him eating pasta and drinking wine might be the best thing for the Cleveland Browns going forward. Like him not playing quarterback for the Browns is the best thing he can do for them. So
I'm going to be honest. It's not that I was it's not that I'm against him being where he's at right now. I'm not against him rehabbing. I'm not against him getting some sun and just, chilling out and trying to, de-stress and all those things going on. What does make me a little bit irked is the fact that he's kind of flaunting it to Browns fans who are sitting here, their hard-earned ticket dollars, their interest in wanting to watch this team play. All of that creates revenue for the organization. And while the Browns fans are sitting here wallowing in another season of not making the playoffs, he looks like he's, lifestyles of the rich and famous. That's the part that irritates me.
Yeah.
If you want your friends to see that, cool. Do it privately and send them a text. But I just think it's kind of a slap in the face to Browns fans who are sitting here watching a horrible product, and they all believe that horrible product was facilitated by you and the contract that you are now under. That's why.
And the fact that the organization is going to be hamstrung to get out from underneath that contract in years to come. I wanted to make a point about, you mentioned about the draft and the quarterback and the impact of Deshaun on whatever. I think the other part is there is no draft buzz this year.
No.
There is no franchise-saving quarterback that's going to be available to you. So there's nothing to get excited about in that realm. Yes, the Browns will hopefully be able to find a player in the top 10 of the draft that's going to be able to play as a rookie and contribute and things like that. But the reality is that I don't think there is a franchise savior to shoot for, right? Or you're sitting here saying, yeah, it's okay you lost to the Steelers because your draft positioning, improves. And, there's X, Y, and Z player to be targeting next April to really get excited about, right?
Yeah, suck for anybody, right?
Right. And that's not here either, right? So you have this, the Browns are not devoid of talent. They've got good players, right? In spots. They've got some cornerstone pieces, but the quarterback, which has been the case since Bernie Kosar, is holding them back from getting to where they need to go. And unfortunately, the front office and ownership made an historic commitment to a guy that was completely unworthy of said historic commitment. And now they're stuck with the ramifications of making that historic commitment. And so this era that was supposed to be the byproduct of going 4-44, all that, that pain 8-9 years ago of going 4-44, all it got you, Andy, was 2 winning seasons, 2 playoff berths, 1 playoff victory, and that's it. And now you got to go through another retool. Meanwhile, guess who comes to town this weekend? The Kansas City Chiefs, who've won the AFC West 9 straight years. Back in 2020, we all thought this was going to be the new AFC rivalry, right? They
are the fork in the road
here,
right, Daryl?
What's that?
They're the fork in the road. You're 1 first down away from getting the AFC Championship. They turn in one direction. They get a first down from a backup quarterback, and the Browns
fell apart.
I don't even know where we headed in the other direction. We're on the other side of the planet right now.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield's no longer here. They made the trade for Deshaun, which has been an unmitigated disaster. They got a little lucky last year with Joe Flacco playing the way he did for a couple of weeks, but then he turned into a pumpkin in the playoffs, and so did the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL against the Houston Texans, and they get blown out there. But yeah, I mean, that game, it was almost, tale of 2 teams, right? Kansas City, well, they went on to keep winning and a couple Super Bowls and whatnot, and the Browns went back to being the Cleveland Browns, unfortunately, with a 1-year pause, last year. Mm-hmm. But and so I get it if fans are just right now reaching a point where they've had enough. I have a lot of friends that are Browns fans that tell me all the time how sick and tired they are of this organization. how much they are frustrated with the ownership, how much they're frustrated with the front office, how much they're frustrated with the players. They're frustrated with the always increasing ticket prices. They're excited about the prospect of going into a dome in a couple of years, but they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay the increased ticket prices and the increased parking prices that are going to come with that. And that for a product that, quite frankly, is crap. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's crap. It's been crap since 1999 with just little, I call it the trail of cheese. You know what the trail of cheese is, right, Andy?
Tell me, brother.
Just enough to keep you hungry for more. They do just enough to keep you hungry for more. And that's what the Cleveland Browns do to their fans year in and year out. And when you've done it for 25 years, well, at some point there will be a breaking point. And I got to be honest with you, I'm starting to get concerned that this might be a breaking point for some of those diehard Browns fans that have stuck through all the stuff that's gone on since this franchise came back. I think that an interesting question that I can't ask, and I'm sure you probably can't ask either, I would love to take a survey of the diehard Browns fans and ask them, knowing what you know now about this team, this franchise, and everything that's gone on, would you have fought as hard to bring this back the way you did? Because
let's hang on. Let's add some Limburger to this, and we'll come back and we'll discuss a little bit more of that. I also want to talk about what's going on with the Dome. There was some news this week about what's going on outside the Dome, so we'll ponder that, and we'll talk about some healthy things and some non-healthy things. And I guess we got to talk about Taylor Swift too, don't we? It's always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. It's always game day in Cleveland. Thanks for listening on the Odyssey app. We appreciate your watching us on YouTube, and we're glad that you're able to dial us in on that thing too. So we are brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, I mean, you brought up a good question at the end of the last segment about if you could turn back time, would you still want to be the Cleveland Browns, or would you have let the Browns go to Baltimore? I mean, if I could turn back time, I would never wanted anyone else to be the Browns. So the reason that the city fought so hard to keep everything, the traditions and stuff like that, I'm still okay with that. I don't have a problem because the thought of Baltimore Browns just made me want to puke left and right. Like I can't even when people were saying it at the time back in the early 90s, it made me ill then. It makes me ill today. So if Baltimore would have become the Ravens, that would have been okay too. As for being the Browns now, maybe they should have just put the Browns legacy and Cleveland football storage. I don't know. It still makes us connected to the older players, but as time ticks away, the older players are just memories, and we can sit here and talk about Bernie Kosar all day. We can talk about Brian Brennan. We can talk about Webster Slaughter or Reggie Langhorne or Hanford Dixon, but man, every day we get farther away from winning history and the tradition that they actually were. So I don't know if it would have been so bad if they would have came back as the Bulldogs. It just keeps that the older players still linked into this, and I think that is important. So,
well, I mean, again, my thing is, would you even have fought for this thing to come back? Would you have built built the new stadium and
not in the way that they did this?
Yeah,
I think about if they would have taken another year and come back in 2000 with Houston, right? And they really thought out what they were doing with the stadium. They really thought things out. I don't think we'd be looking at a dome right now. Yeah. I think we'd still be in a new stadium, or we'd still be in a stadium that was built in 2000. I think that a lot of things would be different. I think they wouldn't have had, that horrific expansion draft. When you think about the expansion drafts for like Carolina and Jacksonville before, man, those were like, let's set these teams up. When we came back, we're like, it's Cleveland. Who cares, man? Just get them a team on the field. And that was wrong. It's all wrong, and we're still paying the price for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but ownership wasn't announced until October before the draft. They didn't have time to put a personnel department together. I mean, the franchise was hamstrung from day one. But there's been 24 years after that.
Yeah, there's no excuse for that now. I agree with you 100%.
I mean, and they've had multiple first overall picks. And look, one of them's going to be a future Hall of Famer, Myles Garrett, right? He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. Baker Mayfield is a good NFL quarterback now. So, the Browns have had their opportunity to get their collective, together, and they continually failing to do that. It doesn't matter who the GM is. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. I always say that being the Browns head coach is the hardest job in the NFL because of just everything you always have to deal with here. From the constant quarterback carousel to just the burden of the fact that the franchise has sucked for as long as it has. And
you have to be the face of the franchise.
Yeah. You're the one that has to answer.
You're always the guy that has to talk. Yep.
That's tough to do. Kevin Stefanski's put a real professional face on things. Andrew Berry has brought, professionalism into the building and that. That's one of the primary reasons that, there's a big part of me that hopes both of those people keep their jobs. But on the flip side, look, it's been a bad year for Andrew Berry, right? Mm-hmm. The Elijah Moore trade hasn't really worked out all that good, although now we're starting to see some Elijah Moore. So maybe the trade wasn't the problem. It was the fact that you didn't have a quarterback that could get him the football and really involve him and use his talents. Jed Wills and Greg Newsome, his first round picks aren't getting second contracts. That's not good for the old SMA. You've got a lot of his other draft picks have been marginal at best to this point. Kareem Hunt, whom he let walk out the door as a free agent, has one fewer touchdown run than the entire Browns team has for the season this year. He's got 5. The Browns have 6. Their top 3 rushers outrush Kareem Hunt, but not by much. So, these are things that when you look at the job Andrew Berry is doing as the top executive, and making those football decisions, like it's legit to question those and question whether or not he is the guy to keep making these decisions going forward.
Yeah, it's just weird. No one wants to talk about the season. No one wants to talk about the draft. I think people would rather actually discuss whether Ryan Day should be fired or rehired or keep his job at Ohio State. I think that seems to be a bigger topic around town than the Browns, which seems weird, but that's the reality that we're in right now. Daryl,
or feuds between Cleveland and Columbus radio hosts.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out exactly who was getting called out there. I know people are writing that it was Lima, but there were some things that we had said in the afternoon show that were irritating to people too. Like, I'm like, guys, Woody and Bo aren't walking through that door anymore. The Michigan game is going to get moved to earlier in the season. And if we had a caller, and I'm still mad at it 24 hours later, that called in and said, Daryl, beating Michigan is everything. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that matters. You have to beat Michigan, blah, 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 blah. And then he went on to say the national championship, that's just a bonus.
Well,
ridiculous.
First of all, Ohio State's not going to win the national title, which I think is going to get Ryan Day fired. Ohio State's got a very difficult path to get to the national championship game. You got to go through Tennessee. You got I forget the
Oregon. They play Oregon second.
Georgia, to get there, and I don't think that Ryan Day is capable of leading them to doing that. But I
disagree with you, but that's okay. I think the opportunity for them to get to the national semifinals right there in front of them.
I think Ryan Day is the modern version of John Cooper. I've always felt that way. The guy was born on third base and got picked off by Michigan.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a slam. I kind of think that's a stupid take on him. They've won a lot of they beat 3 top 5 teams this year. His team didn't show up. I hate the way he prepared for Michigan. I hate the game plan they had for Michigan. If they don't beat Tennessee, I won't be surprised if he gets fired, but I don't think he was born on third base. I think that's a trite Michigan stupid line. It's a stupid line.
He inherited a really good football program. He really did.
Well, guess what? That's part of the gig when you go to Ohio State. When has Ohio State not been a good football program?
John Cooper.
Tell me what. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
Well, okay.
Go back and look at the players that Cooper had while he was there.
They would lose the key top 5 matchups, and then they would lose to Michigan under John Cooper. They were a good program. They just would
look at the talent that Ohio State had.
Oh,
when
I know.
Cooper was there.
I know,
So
and
it's not about being like. I don't think Ryan Day was born on third base. When I hear that makes steam come out of my ear. You sound like you're like this. You're like the Lake Michigan swamp monster or something like that. I
just like poking the bear. That's all.
My point is that like I don't think Ryan survives if they can't beat Tennessee. I have no problem with that. He'll be 0-4 against the SEC. I think that's right. 0-4 against the SEC if they lose that, and add that to 1-4 against Michigan. If he gets fired, it's because they didn't come through. That job is thankless. I don't know what they have the best wide receiver in the country.
Yeah.
They have the best roster money can buy. And yes, they should be winning, but he has had to do a lot of work while he's there. He's been open and honest about the things that haven't gone right. He's brought in other coordinators to help him get better, especially, Chip Kelly. I don't know what Chip Kelly was calling against Michigan in a game where you have to be able to run the ball, and they have 2 really good running backs. And the play calling was just atrocious against everyone. They put so much pressure on this what game that they lose their minds. They forgot how they got there.
By the way, I promise you're listening to It's Always Game Day in Cleveland and not Sons of the Shoe.
I got another word other than shoe I would use.
Yeah, but I just like poking the bear because I know you're a big Ryan Day and Buckeye.
It's not that I love Ryan Day. I just don't like the whole attitude that's going on right now. You know me. I mean, I worked in Columbus. I've been a longtime Buckeye fan. I like Ohio State. I love the fact that when you grow up in the state, this is the place where you really want to play for the most part. I mean, we lose guys left and right to other states. I love the fact that Jim Tressel put a fence around the state after Cooper couldn't do it. I love the fact that Urban Meyer absolutely owned Michigan. But by the same token, this isn't Woody and Bo era anymore. Winning a national championship is more important than beating Michigan.
It's point blank. That they're trying to talk Urban Meyer back into existence for the Buckeyes. That's where we've gotten, and where we've fallen is that we just spent most of the segment talking about Ohio State, not the Browns.
True.
Because it's not good. Chiefs come to town this weekend. I honestly think, Andy, the Browns thing to happen, and I say that. And
I know where you're going with this, brother. Say it.
The Browns win this weekend. The Chiefs have been a charm team this year. Let's not.
They were born on third base all the way coming into home plate.
Yep. And they're 10-0 in one score games this year. Basically the greatest sin you could commit playing the Kansas City Chiefs is you give Patrick Mahomes the football with less than 2 minutes to play and a chance to win the game like that. Sure. I mean, so for me, the Browns have to find a way to have a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter. That's very, very important.
I would take 17 points. I'd feel a little better, but yeah, keep going. Yeah.
They need a 2-score lead, and they also need to have the football in their hands at the 2-minute warning and run that thing out to where Mahomes doesn't even see the field again. Like that, for me, that's the number one key to victory for the Browns on Sunday is have a 2-score lead and the football in their hands at the 2-minute warning. And if they're able to do that, I like their chances to beat the Chiefs. And again, the Chiefs aren't blowing teams out this year. They're playing a lot of tight games. They're finding ways to win those tight games, as frustrating as that might be, because we've seen what happens with the Browns this year. But, Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, I mean, all they do is win. And so that's my number one key to beating the Chiefs.
All right. All right, let's talk more about it. We got to come back. We got plenty of time left. Let's talk about that. I want to get into this new dome stuff that we heard about this week too. So let's talk about that. Let's get up to speed on what the roster looks like going in. How about a new kicker coming in this week? Is he actually going to see the field? Daryl's going to answer that next. It's always game day in Cleveland. It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. I guess it doesn't matter what the game is, whether it's the Browns, the Buckeyes, or anybody else this week. The Browns will take on the Kansas City Chiefs this week. It is Taylor Swift's birthday coming up before the game, so we have to wonder if Cleveland Heights native Travis Kelce is going to throw a big soiree for her in Northeast Ohio, or if they're all going to hop on a plane after the game Sunday. So it'll be interesting. That might be something, the Miami effect could happen here, right? We talk about this all the time in the NBA where players go out and they always seem to That South Beach flu.
Are we going to have
When
the
they go to play.
Cuyahoga flu?
What is it?
What do we call it? The Cuyahoga flu, the Erie
Oh,
flu?
no. It would be the Edgewater toxins. How's that sound?
Pretty gross, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't come up with anything else. The Cuyahoga craziness? I don't know. But so you look at it and you might say to yourself, well, maybe they're all getting together. Although I can't see Andy Reid letting them all go out on Saturday night for Taylor's birthday or even Friday. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Or maybe it's just going to be a big blowout Sunday night in Cleveland. If not, who knows? They might celebrate her birthday at some other point. I wonder if she's even going to be at the game. What are you hearing?
I think there is a chance that Taylor Swift will be in attendance on Sunday. So
the bigger storyline: Browns Chiefs. Kelsey comes home again. Taylor's birthday. Taylor at the game.
Taylor's birthday. Taylor at the game.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. At least from our perspective.
I mean, Taylor skipped Cleveland this year. She went to what? Detroit, Pittsburgh. I think did she go to Cincinnati too?
I don't know. I got to be honest. I wasn't on the Euros tour.
Is that me neither. I admit I'm not a Swiftie, but I'm happy for all the folks that made money to Detroit and to Pittsburgh, and also to a big box retailer on Black Friday to get whatever it was that was on sale that people were lining up at 2 a.m. to try and buy. But yeah,
well, there is a chance though, Daryl, that if there is a dome here, that she will come to Cleveland somewhere down the road, as long as those two are together and she doesn't hate Cleveland after this weekend. My point for you is, what's the news on the dome? Because there was a lot of hubbub about what's going on outside of the stadium. And by the way, that's zero taxpayer dollars, right?
Yeah, the development portion is going to be privately financed, but I mean, really, all it is the Browns picked their developer, for that project. It's the same developer that did the Star for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. We've heard so much about that. The architect that's designing this whole complex, including the dome, HKS. They're the ones that designed Lucas Oil Stadium, which is a fantastic facility. SoFi Stadium, home of the Chargers and Rams. Obviously, U.S. Bank Stadium, which was a big influence in Browns ownership wanting to build a dome here in Cleveland after they, saw that facility up in Minneapolis. I don't know that AT&T Stadium is one they want on the resume after recent events involving pieces of sheet metal that have fallen to the field or whatever before games. But well,
this would just be windows at our place, right? It'd be glass.
Yeah.
Or plexiglass.
So, basically the Browns have hired the best of the best in the design and the construction folks to put this, this project in motion. And, the politicians are still, fighting very publicly against it. And the Browns, meanwhile, are getting their ducks in a row to move forward with the project. So, the fact that they're hiring people to do things, Andy, is a pretty strong indication of where.
Wait, are you saying they're moving into the dome? They've been hiring people? Funny, because I thought I saw a bulldozer over there and there were like 15 guys with shovels in the ground already.
Well, that's the existing landowner and developer who did all the,
Oh, no, I get it. Okay.
The site remediation from the old Ford plant that was there. But the other thing, too, was interesting in the renderings. They turned it 45 degrees.
Yeah.
So that the dome was facing out toward Engle Road there, and they were able to wrap the development around Engle and Snow roads as opposed to just everything was pointing towards Snow roads. So I actually, when I pointed out, I had people questioning me. And so I put both renderings side by side, and I'm like, yeah, they moved it they flipped it 45 degrees. And okay, what I saw is what I said I saw, but I had people making me second guess what I was seeing. So
I thought it was interesting to see the seats on the inside of the dome because of the glass that you could see into the dome on the overhead shot.
Yeah, I just hate to be the window washer in charge of cleaning that roof.
Self-cleaning windows. Come on, man, get with the program. It's 2024. By 2029, those things will just they'll put condensation on themselves and then they'll squeegee themselves. It'll be easy, totally easy.
Okay, I think that'll also add another $1 billion to the price tag.
Yeah, whatever it takes, it doesn't matter. But City of Cleveland doesn't care anymore. What do they care?
Well, well, at least publicly they care because they're among the folks fighting this whole thing. along with the county. So we'll
Have we heard anything on the lawsuit the Browns filed against the city for the Modell law?
No. And the last thing I heard was that the city of Cleveland asked the court for some time to get their stuff together. See, here's the thing: is I feel like the city of Cleveland threatened the lawsuit because they want to jam up the project. You know what I'm saying? They want to monkey wrench into it. And the reason the Browns sued right away is like, okay, well, if you're going to take us to court over this, we're not going to wait for you to do it. Then let's just go. Let's go to court. Let's get it settled. Let's get it done. And so that's why the Browns filed the suit. Not for any animus reason, just other than, okay, fine. If you feel like that this law is applicable and you're going to sue us over it, we're not going to wait for you to do it while we're already under construction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it. Totally get it.
And look, the Browns are already tens of millions of dollars into this project in land acquisition, site survey, architectural planning, all those, like they're tens of millions into this thing. So they're committed to the bit. The Browns are absolutely committed to building this dome. It's just a matter of kind of getting the support and the green lights that they're looking for, from the political space. And I did have someone last week ask me if I thought that this was going to get done. And I said, yeah, as long as you build it, it'll get done. But if you're sitting around waiting for the politicians to come on board, no, it won't, because that's how things work here.
All I can envision is them building a new dome and the current stadium sitting there for another 20 years.
Yeah. Well,
I just have visions of that the other stadium is just going to sit there for 20 years.
Well, Mayor Bibb, when the Browns informed him of their decision in early September to pursue the dome, he asked them to pay to tear down the existing stadium.
And
well, I mean, nothing was really agreed to in that meeting, and then obviously with everything that's transpired since then, but that's one of the things he'll be looking for if they move. He'll be looking for the Browns to tear that building down for them. He also asked them if they would help with the development, and they said, well, we're not developers. And his response was, well, you're working on Berea, you're working on Brook Park. And they're like, well, we're paying people a lot of money to handle that for us.
That know what they're doing. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, my contention is I think Brook Park's a better site. It better fits the current NFL fan experience that fans currently desire around the country. It modernizes the franchise. It's a building that will last more than 30 years, I think, when it is built. Unlike this existing stadium, you're going to actually be able to get to the darn thing. And also, too, it's going to relieve a lot of financial burden from the city of Cleveland. No more annual stadium debt payments. No more having to pay Browns loan money back. No more stadium repair costs that you have to, come up with. City of Cleveland might end up owning the ballpark and field house downtown with the way things are going with Gateway right now. Cleveland has to come up with $20 million. The county has to come up with $20 million. And my understanding is there's more money that's going to be asked for too. Like that $40 million is a stopgap. Like there's more in the future. The syntax needs to be modernized. It needs to be modernized. I think they need to add marijuana to it. So it's cigarettes, alcohol, and marijuana. I don't think they need to actually raise the amount of the tax. I think they just need to expand it, and that will give you the revenue that you need. I always felt that the sports gambling thing should have gone toward the stadiums as opposed to the education. Because, the lottery's gone to the education since the lottery's been in place, and all the school systems in the state of Ohio always seem to be broke. So
that's true too.
I don't know what good that's actually doing, but they're going to have to find some way. And also the Bengals, they want to do a 1.
Oh, they're going to get some money from the state. All right, Daryl, let's put a bow on the show. We'll be back with you after the Kansas City Chiefs game with the Browns. We'll have our immediate post-game podcast after that. Evan O'Brien,
the official Taylor Swift correspondent. He will be tracking her every movement at Huntington Bank Field.
She may have more yards than the running backs do for the Browns. That's all I can say.
Andy promises a comprehensive recap of the Taylor Swift experience Sunday.
Hey, if that's what it takes for people to watch and listen to our podcast, Daryl, I'll do that for you, whatever it takes. And Evan, who's killing it again today. Thank you, Evan O'Brien, who's going to take the littlest bits of this thing and he's going to blow it up. And then people are going to come back and go, man, that was way better on the little bit part that I saw on social media than it was in the actual podcast itself. That's how good Evan is. He makes us look spectacular. Thank you, Evan. We appreciate you. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Thanks for watching and listening to It's Always Game Day in Cleveland.